Dear students, let's continue our topic, poets and pancakes. I think this is the third lecture on that uh, topic, essay. Rather. So far, we know that one more character that our author has uh, elaborately elaborated in this previous lecture, that was Sobu. Subu was that he was such a character that suited films. He was a tailor-made for films, and he would always give so many suggestions. Whenever producer felt some type of problem, Subu was there to help him out, and he would give him so many alternatives for that if he felt any problem. And besides that, he had come to film industry at that time when there were no companies, so he had to he had to face lot of problems. But he was only fortunate in the sense that he belonged to Brahmin caste, and that's why he had the acquaintance with some affluent situations and people. So this was all about this Sabu, and let's continue now today's lesson. That is, we open your books at page 61. Top of the page, you see. You saw Sabu was always with the boss, but in the attendance roles, he was grouped under a department called the story department, comprising a lawyer and an assembly of writers and poets. There were many departments in Jimny Studio. This Sobu, he was, although he was all the time he was with boss, but actually he was grouped. He was enrolled in a department under a department called the story department, and that department comprises other people like there was a lawyer, there was the group of writers and poets. The lawyer was also officially known as the legal advisor. Actually, he was a legal advisor. He had to advise the department on some legal matters. That's why the lawyer was called their legal advisor. But everybody referred to him as the opposite. But the people there, they referred to him that opposite. It means he was not giving any advice on legal points. An extremely talented actress who was also extremely temperamental once blew over on the sets, and once an extremely talented actress. There was an actress, she was extremely talented, who was also extremely temperamental, means liable to unreasonable changes of mind. She was such a lady. But once she blew over the on the sets, means she passed very quickly, passed off the sets very quickly without being seen or noticed. While everyone stood stunned, people there present were stunned, means they were confused to saw her, because the lawyer quietly switched on the recording equipment. In the meanwhile, the lawyer was there. He switched on the tape recorder, you may call it, because recording equipment. He just switched it on. When the actress paused for breath, she stopped for a while for breath. The lawyer said to her, "1 minute, please, and play back the recording." He played the recording back. There was nothing incriminating or unmentionably foul about the actress' tirade against the producer. Maybe she had a tirade, means the attacked the producer, but there was nothing incriminating in that recording. Incriminating, making someone appear guilty. Incriminating means making someone appear guilty. Such was not the material. Unmentionable foul, and nothing was foul about the actress in that. But when she heard her voice again through through the sound equipment, means she maybe first time she had heard her sound of her own sound through that equipment, means tape recorder. She was struck dumb. She became mute, silent. She couldn't speak anything. a girl from the countryside. She was actually a girl from the country, from far-flung, from such area. She hadn't gone through all the stages of worldly experience that generally precede a position of importance and sophistication that she had found herself catapulted into. She was such a girl because she was from countryside. She had not gone through all the stages of worldly experience. She had not achieved such an experience that generally precede a position of importance. When some goes to the pass to the position of importance, somebody becomes a very important and or sophisticated position. One has to go through some worldly experience, but she had not gone through that. She had found herself catapulted in. Means all of a sudden she was she got that sophistication and importance without going through any experience. She never recovered from the terror she felt that day. So she first time heard her own sound, her own sound. So she felt terror. First time that was the end of the brief and brilliant acting career, and that make the end of that brilliant because she had first time heard all that. The legal advisor was also a number of was sorry was also a member of the story department. He was also a member of another department that was a story. Had unwittingly brought, means unintentionally, brought about that sad end, and was his career also came to an end, while every other member of the department wore a kind of uniform. Sorry. A legal advisor who was also a member of the story had unwittingly brought about that sad end. Means this man, the lawyer, has brought unintentionally the end of the career of that actress to an end, while every other member of the department wore a kind of uniform. They wore, most of the people wore uniform. What was the uniform? Khadi dhoti with a slightly oversized and the scalamazi, means oddly tailored white khadi shirt they were wearing. That was the uniform of that department. Khadi dhoti with a slightly oversized and kalamazli tailored white khadi shirt. The legal advisor wore pants and tie, but this man, the lawyer, would wear pants and tie, and sometimes a coat that looked like a coat of mail. Means he was different than the other members of the people. Often he looked alone and helpless, a man of cold logic in a crowd of dreamers. Means he was the man with cold logic among the crowd of dreamers, the other people who had come, who had the big dreams, and he was among them. He looked like a man of cold logic. Sorry. A neutral man in an assembly of Gandhites and Khadites. Means he was neutral because of his uniform, maybe. The most of the people were following the Gandhi, and who were Gandhites, and the Khadites means who were wearing the Khadi, this uniform. He was neutral among them, being wearing something different. Like so many those who were close to the boss, he was allowed to produce a film, and though though a lot of stock, lot of stock and pancake were used on it. Means like he was the like so many of those who were close to the boss. Means so many were close to the boss, and he was among them. He was allowed to produce a film, but he was only person who was allowed to produce a film, and though a lot of stock and a lot of things, and pancake, means the makeup material were used on it. Not much came to the of the film, but the film was not a success. Then one day the boss closed down the story department. The boss closed down this department. The lawyer was the member of that department, and this was perhaps the only instance, only example in all human history where lawyer lost his job because the poets were asked to go home. This was something special that has happened ever in the human history, that a person who was lawyer was he lost the job because of the poets and The poets just they were relieved of their jobs. So this was something special. Jiminy Studio was the favorite haunt of poets like SDS Yogilar, Sangu Subramaniam, Krishna Shastri, and Hridayanath Chattopadhyay. So Gymnastic was favorite haunt of means of these people. These poets were the great poets, the first one SDS Yogilar. He was a freedom fighter and a national poet. And besides Sangu Subramaniam and Krishna Shastri and Hridayanath Chattopadhyay was also a poet and playwright. They were usually found in there in this department of a gymnast studio. It had an excellent mess which supplied good copy at all times of the day and for most part of the night. Means this department had a good mess that served coffee all the times, and the night the people who worked there. Those were the days when Congress rule meant prohibition and meeting over a cup of coffee was rather satisfying entertainment. Uh, those days were the rule of Congress, and Congress had rule that meant prohibition. Prohibition means act of something forbidding by law. Act of something forbidding by law is called a prohibition. Maybe it is prohibiting of alcohol, and meeting over a cup of coffee was rather satisfying. So if people would meet there only at the cup of coffee. Barring the office boys and a couple of clerks, everybody else at the studio radiated leisure, barring these few people were the exception, like office boys and couple of clerks. Most of the people at the studio would radiate leisure, means they enjoyed the leisure time, and prerequisite for poetry, that is a prerequisite, that is an important thing before anybody would start the poetry. Most of them wore khadi and worshipped Gandhi, but beyond that, they had not the faintest appreciation of political thought of any kind. Most of the people there, they would wear khadi and they would worship Gandhi, but they had no idea about or faintest appreciation for political thought. Means they were not in any way attached to the political thought of Gandhi. Naturally, they were all averse to the term communism, and naturally, they were also against the term communism. Communism was newly coined at that time. Communist was a godless man, as it was believed. He had no filial or conjugal love. He had no love for filial, means love relating or due from a son or a daughter, or conjugal love from son or daughter or from wife. He had no compunction about killing his own parents or his children. He had no compunction, means a feeling of guilt, killing his own parents or his children. In such was the idea about the communists at that time. So they would kill their parents, and they had no compunction. They would had no feeling of guilt for that. He was always out to cause and spread unrest and violence among innocent and ignorant people. And it was said that he was always been the one communist was always ready to spread unrest or violence, means he was ready to create a law and order problem. He was always out and ignorant, spread among innocent people and ignorant people. So they were his target. Such notions which prevailed everywhere else in South India at that time. This was the idea. This was the idea about these communists that was prevalent in that South Indian side, and they thought all about the communism and the communists like that. And time also naturally floated about vaguely among the khadi-colored poets of Jimny studios. It was not very clearly such idea among the khadi-clad, khadi-worn poets of Jimny study. Evidence of it was soon forthcoming. The evidence was soon was available soon. when Frank Bachman's moral rearmament army. I think this do for today. Let's conclude today's lecture. Khuda Hafiz.